Chapter 2. A half-complete undergrad degree in computer science, $150,000 of student loan debt, and this was all he had to show for it. A tray covered with lipstick-smeared wine glasses, dirty silverware, and plates dotted with shrimp tails and remnants of cocktail sauce. The busboy weaved his way through the crowd. About 200 guests were milling about beneath the glass rotunda of the Ronald Reagan Building's pavilion room, clinking glasses and giving each other congratulatory slaps on the back. The room was a huge circle, framed by tall windows and glass double doors, and filled with cocktail tables draped in red and white linen. Up front, a podium had been erected. There was a large screen suspended above with the familiar red and blue elephant logo and the words "Pathway to Victory" projected onto it. The thing was some sort of fundraiser, a cool $1,000 a pop to share a few glasses of cheap wine and sweaty handshakes. The busboy shook his head as he cleared a messy table. These guys threw money around just like they did crumpled-up cocktail napkins. He balanced the heavy tray on his arm and scanned the room, recognizing several attendees: the Speaker of the House, the Senate Majority Leader, a couple anchors from right-wing talk shows. They didn't recognize him, of course, but why would they? He was a nobody, just a 19-year-old kid named Taylor. Well, not really. In his rush to get here, he'd left his own name tag at home, and instead of being written up by HR for a 5th time, he'd borrowed one from some girl who was ending her shift when he'd arrived. Curvy little blonde with a cute smile. He kind of wished he'd gotten her number, because after tonight, he wasn't sure he'd be coming back to this dead-end job. He kept clearing tables, eyes turned down, sleeves buttoned tightly over his wrists. These 1%ers might not acknowledge his presence, but they'd certainly notice and disapprove of the tattoo that snaked up his forearm. A man in a black tuxedo with slicked-back gray hair walked to the podium. Christopher Burke, chairman of the Republican National Committee. He stood in front of the microphone and smiled, white teeth flashing against his faux-tanned skin. The crowd moved from the edges of the room and assembled in front of him. "Thank you for being here tonight," he said. "There's never been a more critical time to come together and take a stand against the deeply misguided and frankly dangerous direction this country is headed in. Within just 2 short years, the Webster administration has attempted to undo the work of generations of American men and women committed to protecting the country we love. Time and again, this administration has refused point-blank to take threats to our security seriously, even when our citizens at home and abroad, and our very way of life, are under attack. These policies appease terrorists and put Americans at risk." Burke paused, eyes scanning the crowd. "But all this is changing," he said, "because the people have spoken. For the first time in 8 years, we have control of the Senate. We have control of Congress." He paused again. "And in 2 more years, we will regain control of the White House." A huge cheer rose up from the audience. Burke let the applause ripple through the crowd, then raised his hands and motioned for silence as he began to speak again. The microphone crackled. Without warning, the sound cut out. Burke's voice faded to a dull shout. He tapped the mic. It didn't respond. Burke tapped the microphone again, a confused look on his face. The busboy, who was on the other side of the room now, smirked and set his tray on an empty table. His hand dug into his pocket, fingers gripping the pack of cigarettes tucked inside. It was time. If anyone asked, he was just going on a smoke break. He headed toward the exit. But before he got there, the sound system suddenly crackled back to life. "Good evening." The male voice emanating from the speaker was computer-generated and toneless. "And thank you for your attendance tonight." The busboy jumped as the exit doors slammed shut, the locks clicked, and the overhead lights flickered. The room was abruptly pitched into darkness, save for a slant of moonlight that filtered through the skylight. A strange hush fell over the crowd, who were unsure whether this was part of